return in 1 minute. The Wells Report returns in 30 seconds. North to south, coast to coast, around the world, this is the Wells Report. Good afternoon, I'm John David Wells. This is a broadcast where we report news, honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We depropagandize the mainstream media. We also make commentary. Commentary is not news. That's why we do it over here instead of over here. We make opinion over here so you know that we're not giving you the news. Because opinion is news. It's my opinion, your opinion, our opinion. They may be different. They may be divergent. But guess what? Let's share them anyway. News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. People are debating about what happened last night as Vice President Kamala Harris with Tim Walz sat down for their first interview since being named the ticket, and even before then. Kamala Harris has not been available to the press, and it showed. In my humble opinion, I'm a little bit. I've watched this a couple of times now, and I've got some ideas about it. But as you know, part of this broadcast, part of journalism, is to journalize. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to play it's about 17 and some minutes of this interview. Now, this is an 8-minute segment. Then there's another 8-minute segment. So we will be back by the end of this segment to talk a little bit more about what we see here. But this is the first part of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz interview with Dana Bash from CNN that was aired first last night as a CNN exclusive.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for sitting down with me and bringing the bus. The bus tour is well underway here in Georgia. You have less time to make your case to voters than any candidate in modern American history. The voters are really eager to hear what your plans are. If you are elected, what would you do on day one in the White House?
Well, there are a number of things. I will tell you, first and foremost, one of my highest priorities is to do what we can to support and strengthen the middle class. When I look at the aspirations, the goals, the ambitions of the American people, I think that people are ready for a new way forward, in a way that generations of Americans have been fueled by hope and by optimism. I think, sadly, in the last decade, we have had in the former president someone who has really been pushing an agenda and an environment that is about diminishing the character and the strength of who we are as Americans, really dividing our nation. And I think people are ready to turn the page on that.
So what would you do day one?
Day one, it's going to be about, one, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. I've already laid out a number of proposals in that regard, which include what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small businesses, what we're going to do to invest in families, for example, extending the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of their child's life, to help them buy a car seat, to help them buy baby clothes, a crib. There's the work that we're going to do that is about investing in the American family around affordable housing, a big issue in our country right now. So there are a number of things on day one.
What about you?
Well, I'm excited about this agenda too. As I said, the idea of inspiring America to what can be, and I think many of these things that the vice president's proposing are things that we share in values. And the child tax credit is one we know that reduces childhood poverty by 1/3. We did it in Minnesota to have a federal partner in this. Unbelievable, I think, in the impact that we can make.
You talked about, you call it the opportunity economy. You are well aware that right now many Americans are struggling. There's a crisis of affordability.
Yeah.
One of your campaign themes is we're not going back. But I wonder what you say to voters who do want to go back when it comes to the economy specifically, because their groceries were less expensive, housing was more affordable when Donald Trump was president.
Well, let's start with the fact that when Joe Biden and I came in office, during the height of a pandemic, we saw over 10 million jobs were lost. People, I mean, literally, we were all tracking the numbers. Hundreds of people a day were dying because of COVID. The economy had crashed. In large part, all of that because of mismanagement by Donald Trump of that crisis. When we came in, our highest priority was to do what we could to rescue America. And today, we know that we have inflation at under 3%. A lot of our policies have led to the reality that America recovered faster than any wealthy nation around the world. But you are right. Prices, in particular for groceries, are still too high. The American people know it, I know it, which is why my agenda includes what we need to do to bring down the price of groceries. For example, dealing with an issue like price gouging, what we need to do to extend the child tax credit to help young families be able to take care of their children in their most formative years, what we need to do to bring down the cost of housing. My proposal includes what would be a tax credit of $25,000 for first-time home buyers, so they can just have enough to put a down payment on a home, which is part of the American dream and their aspiration, but do it in a way that allows them to actually get on the path to achieving that goal and that dream.
So you have been vice president for 3.5 years.
Yeah.
The steps that you're talking about now, why haven't you done them already?
Well, first of all, we had to recover as an economy, and we have done that. I'm very proud of the work that we have done that has brought inflation down to less than 3%. The work that we have done to cap the cost of insulin at $35 a month for seniors. Donald Trump said he was going to do a number of things, including allowing Medicare to negotiate drug prices. Never happened. We did it. So now, as I travel in the state of Georgia and around our country, the number of seniors that have benefited. I was in Nevada recently, a grandmother who showed me her receipts. And before we capped the cost of insulin for seniors at $35 a month, she was paying hundreds of dollars, up to thousands of dollars a month for her insulin. She's not doing that
So
any
you
longer.
maintain Bidenomics is a success.
I maintain that when we do the work of bringing down prescription medication for the American people, including capping the cost of the annual cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000, when we do what we did in the first year of being in office to extend the child tax credit so that we cut child poverty in America by over 50%, when we do what we have done to invest in the American people and bringing manufacturing back to the United States so that we created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs, bringing business back to America, what we have done to improve the supply chain so we're not relying on foreign governments to supply American families with their basic needs, I'll say that that's good work. There's more to do, but that's good work.
I want to get some clarity on where you stand on some key policy issues. Energy is a big one. When you were in Congress, you supported the Green New Deal. And in 2019, you said, quote, "There is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking." Fracking, as you know, is a pretty big issue, particularly in your must-win state of Pennsylvania.
Sure.
Do you still want to ban fracking?
No, and I made that clear on the debate stage in 2020, that I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking.
In 2019, I believe, at a town hall, you said you were asked, would you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking on your first day in office? And you said, there's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking. So yes. So it changed in that campaign?
In 2020, I made very clear where I stand. We are in 2024, and I've not changed that position, nor will I going forward. I kept my word, and I will keep my word.
What made you change that position at the time?
Well, let's be clear. My values have not changed. I believe it is very important that we take seriously what we must do to guard against what is a clear crisis in terms of the climate. And to do that, we can do what we have accomplished thus far. The Inflation Reduction Act, what we have done to invest, by my calculation, over probably $1 trillion over the next 10 years, investing in a clean energy economy. What we've already done, creating over 300,000 new clean energy jobs. That tells me, from my experience as vice president, we can do it without banning fracking. In fact, Dana, I cast the tie-breaking vote that actually increased leases for fracking as vice president. So I'm very clear about where I stand.
And was there some policy or scientific data that you saw that you said, oh, okay, I get it now?
What I have seen is that we can grow and we can increase a thriving clean energy economy without banning fracking.
That was Kamala Harris. And that was part of the interview from last night. There's a second part that we're going to play coming up a little bit later on this hour here on the Wells Report. In that particular segment, she said that that COVID was a result of Trump mismanagement. In other words, what happened during COVID with the job loss of some 10 million jobs was because of mismanagement. Had I been Dana Bash, I would have said, what mismanagement specifically? And that question didn't get asked. Also, Kamala Harris said something about rescuing America. Rescuing America. Rescuing America, how? More people died during the Biden administration and their handling of COVID than during Donald Trump's handling of COVID. More jobs were lost insofar as Joe Biden made all of these statements about this being an epidemic of the unvaccinated, when we found out later, and I'm not holding him responsible for making that statement. He had been told by some of the biggest pharmaceutical companies in the world that indeed these vaccines would do things that they reversed themselves on, notably Pfizer. Pfizer, said, no, we didn't come up with a vaccine that would stop the spread. And so if you're talking about mismanagement, getting back to that part and rescuing America, I don't know that kind of rescue really helped. Just saying. Let's see, $25,000 for a first-time home buyer. Well, okay, there are a lot of other things that are going on, like, for example, trying to come up with ways for people to buy houses that are otherwise not qualified. That always screws things up. Now what we have is a scenario. This is fascinating to me. We have a scenario where people like me own a house, beautiful house in a beautiful neighborhood, beautiful school district. This is a winning proposition. We were able to refinance this house down to a 2% and change interest rate. If we sold this house, yeah, we'd make a lot of money, but then if we bought another house, we'd have to pay one of those interest rates. We're not going to do it. Meanwhile, there are people that are trying to literally break down the door to buy this place. And the thing about it is nobody's going to sell when they have a low interest rate mortgage, and that puts more pressure on supply. There isn't a whole lot of supply. And Kamala Harris wants to do something about putting more supply out there. She says she wants to build houses. She wants to build houses and make them affordable for people. You know what those are called? Those are called housing projects. And those housing projects were monuments to horrid decay, inner city life. Where is she going to build these housing projects? Who's going to be living in those houses? Are they going to be easier to tear down than these gigantic buildings that turned into nothing more than urban decay? I want to ask these questions. I'm glad that Kamala Harris took this interview. I'm glad. I have some interesting questions about it, though, and I'm going to talk about that coming up a little bit later on here on the Wells Report. We've got part number 2 of this conversation coming up in just a couple of seconds. We have some more comments about the first part next on the Wells Report.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. We just saw part 1 of the CNN exclusive interview that was with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who got asked one question and responded to one question. There were a bunch of people that said, what are the takeaways? Fox News says it this way: Harris fumbled the day one question, and she was asked twice about it. Dana Bash asked her twice about day one. And then she came up with this. It's going to be about, 1, implementing my plan for what I call an opportunity economy. Already laid out proposals in that regard, which includes what we're going to do to bring down the cost of everyday goods, what we're going to do to invest in America's small business, what we're going to do to invest in families. She talked about the child tax credit to $6,000. And then she said there are a number of things on day one. Very vague, not very clear. And how is she going to extend the child tax credit to $6,000 for families for the first year of the child's life on day one? What's she going to do? She's not just going to hand them that money. That's Congress's job. She's not going to do that on day one. Harris said that she made her position clear to allow fracking in 2020, except it wasn't her position. This is interesting. Harris doubled down on the interview, said she would not ban fracking if elected, claiming she made clear where she stood on fracking during the 2020 election. No, and I made clear on the debate stage in 2020 I would not ban fracking. As vice president, I did not ban fracking. As president, I will not ban fracking. That's a canned phrase that she memorized. Before dropping her bid for president in 2019 and joined President Biden's ticket, she said during a CNN town hall, there is no question I'm in favor of banning fracking on her first day in office. Harris was asked about fracking during the 2020 vice presidential debate against then Vice President Mike Pence, did not reveal her position on fracking. She said Biden would not ban fracking. Fox News Digital reviewed a transcript of the 2020 vice presidential debate, and fracking was mentioned 9 times, with Harris using the word twice. Joe Biden will not end fracking. He has been very clear about that, she said during the debate. I will repeat, and American people know that Joe Biden will not ban fracking. That is a fact. That is a fact. So that wasn't her position, according to Fox News. They say that Harris dodged whether Biden endorsed her on a phone call when he was dropping out. She dodged the question whether Biden endorsed her to run in place or in his place when he first called and informed her he was bowing out of the election amid mounting concern over his mental acuity. What about the endorsement? Did you ask for it? He was very clear he was going to support me. So when he called to tell you, I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you, Bash pressed Harris. We're going to play that in the second part of this interview that comes up. Let me share a couple of things that I noticed on this. This didn't seem to be, to me, it did not have the ebb and flow of a real conversation. It was almost like, this is the question we're going to ask, and I have no doubt that Kamala Harris knew these questions were coming up. I'm going to ask you this question, wait for your answer, and then there would be some kind of a follow-up like, okay, what are you going to do on day one? Because she didn't, Dana Bash I'm talking about, didn't necessarily follow up with questions trying to probe for an answer that she didn't get. What Dana Bash asked was a question to allow Kamala Harris to expand on what she was trying to say and refocus the question on what she was going to do day one. In other words, not necessarily trying to examine the actual policy, but rather to clarify, to give Kamala Harris a chance to clarify her policy. In point of fact, when I have a guest on the broadcast, this broadcast, the Wells Report, I do similar things. I make sure that I get their point of view across in a clear way, in a fair way. And then I ask questions about it. I ask questions about it and talk to you about it. But the problem here is that only works if you're actually talking to people that heard the interview. See, in other words, when I do that, I'm going to come to you and ask you what you think about it. Dana Bash did not have any of that. There were no follow-ups at all. And what does that say? Well, you mull that over. Part 2 of Kamala Harris's interview on CNN is coming up in just a couple of moments as we journalize that interview here on the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. Good afternoon. John David Wells with you. Thanks for being here. I sincerely appreciate it. So, part of journalism is journalizing. I have been waiting, like everybody else, for well over a month for an interview with Kamala Harris. And we got one last night. It was an exclusive on CNN. Dana Bash was the person asking questions. It was very rote. Question, answer. Question, answer. Not a lot of follow-ups. This is the second part of that question. And it has to do with more of trying, Dana Bash, working to try to come up with an idea or trying to find some solid statement about her policies, which we haven't seen in the first part. We also haven't seen Tim Walz do anything. Why was Tim Walz there? He didn't need to be there. Kamala Harris handled this interview the way we would expect it, I guess. I was expecting more meat on the bone. But what was Tim Walz doing there? So far, he's answered one question. Does he answer any others? Let's look at part 2 and find out.
Another issue, big one, is immigration. As Vice President, you were tasked with addressing the root causes of migration in southern countries and
Northern part of Central America.
the northern part
Yeah.
of Central America that affects the southern border of the U.S. During the Biden-Harris administration, there were record numbers of illegal border crossings. Why did the Biden-Harris administration wait 3.5 years to implement sweeping asylum restrictions?
Well, first of all, the root causes work that I did as vice president that I was asked to do by the president has actually resulted in a number of benefits, including historic investments by American businesses in that region. The number of immigrants coming from that region has actually reduced since we began that work. But I will say this, that Joe Biden and I and our administration worked with members of the United States Congress on an immigration issue that is very significant to the American people and to our security, which is the border. And through bipartisan work, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Congress, a bill was crafted, which we supported, which I support. And Donald Trump got word of this bill that would have contributed to securing our border. And because he believes that it would not have helped him politically, he told his folks in Congress, don't put it forward. He killed the bill. A border security bill that would have put 1,500 more agents on the border. And let me tell you something, the Border Patrol endorsed the bill. And I'm sure in large part because they knew they were working around the clock and 1,500 more agents would help them. That bill would have allowed us to increase seizures of fentanyl. Ask any community in America that has been devastated by fentanyl what passing that bill would have done to address their concern and a pain that they've experienced.
So you would push that legislation again. I just want to
Not
ask
only
about
push it, I will make sure that it comes to my desk and I would sign it.
just one other question about something that you said in 2019 when you first ran. There was a debate. You raised your hand when asked whether or not the border should be decriminalized. Do you still believe that?
I believe there should be consequence. We have laws that have to be followed and enforced that address and deal with people who cross our border illegally, and there should be consequence. And let's be clear, in this race, I'm the only person who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations who traffic in guns, drugs, and human beings. I'm the only person in this race who actually served a border state as Attorney General to enforce our laws. And I would enforce our laws as president going forward. I recognize the problem.
Generally speaking, how should voters look at some of the changes that you've made, that you've explained some of here in your policy? Is it because you have more experience now and you've learned more about the information? Is it because you were running for president in a Democratic primary? And should they feel comfortable and confident that what you're saying now is going to be your policy moving forward?
Dana, I think the most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed. You mentioned the Green New Deal. I have always believed, and I have worked on it, that the climate crisis is real, that it is an urgent matter to which we should apply metrics that include holding ourselves to deadlines around time. We did that with the Inflation Reduction Act. We have set goals for the United States of America and by extension the globe around when we should meet certain standards for reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, as an example. That value has not changed. My value around what we need to do to secure our border, that value has not changed. I spent 2 terms as the Attorney General of California prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, violations of American laws regarding the illegal passage of guns, drugs, and human beings across our border. My values have not changed. So that is the reality of it. And 4 years of being vice president, I'll tell you, one of the aspects to your point is traveling the country extensively. I mean, I'm here in Georgia. I think somebody told me 17 times since I've been vice president in Georgia alone. I believe it is important to build consensus, and it is important to find a common place of understanding of where we can actually solve problems.
On that note, you had a lot of Republican speakers at the convention. Will you appoint a Republican to your cabinet?
Yes, I would.
Anyone
Yes,
in
I
mind?
would. No one in particular in mind. We got 68 days to go with this election, so I'm not putting the cart before the horse, but I would. I think it's really important. I have spent my career inviting diversity of opinion. I think it's important to have people at the table when some of the most important decisions are being made that have different views, different experiences. And I think it would be to the benefit of the American public to have a member of my cabinet who was a Republican.
I want to ask you about your opponent, Donald Trump.
Okay.
I was a little bit surprised. People might be surprised to hear that you have never interacted with him, met him face to face. That's going to change soon. But what I want to ask you about is what he said last month. He suggested that you happened to turn Black recently for political purposes, questioning a core part of your identity.
Yeah.
Any?
Same old tired playbook. Next question, please.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay. Let's talk about some foreign policy issues that would be on your plate if you become commander in chief. President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. He's been doing it for months and months, along with you. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. But let's take a step back. October 7, 1,200 people were massacred. Many young people who were simply attending a music festival. Women were horribly raped. As I said then, I say today, Israel has a right to defend itself. We would. And how it does so matters. Far too many innocent Palestinians have been killed. And we have got to get a deal done. We were in Doha. We have to get a deal done. This war must end.
In the meantime,
And we must get a deal that is about getting the hostages out. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
but no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done. Dana, we have to get a deal done. When you look at the significance of this to the families, to the people who are living in that region, a deal is not only the right thing to do to end this war, but will unlock so much of what must happen next. I remain committed since I've been on October 8 to what we must do to work toward a two-state solution where Israel is secure and in equal measure, the Palestinians have security and self-determination and dignity.
And so Kamala Harris, in that particular section, what she did was she talked about the border bill, and she blamed Donald Trump for killing it. Donald Trump was a private citizen. Donald Trump could not have killed that bill, and certainly the bill died in the Senate, not in the House of Representatives. And the simple case of the matter is that the Democrat Party is the majority in the Senate. How did that bill not get passed? That's a question that nobody's asking, and Dana Bash didn't ask it either. The vice president talked about consequences for illegal crossers. What would they be? What consequences? Donald Trump has said that he is going to deport these people. What is Kamala Harris's answer? No. And then she took that and then she moved into prosecuting transnational criminal organizations, and she talked about that. Well, do we have more transnational criminal organizations in the United States now, since she's been vice president, than before? I'm not going to answer that question. You have to. Then there was this. We played a fragment of this conversation on yesterday's broadcast. And the vice president in that particular fragment said to Dana Bash, you mentioned the Green New Deal. She didn't mention the Green New Deal. Dana Bash didn't mention the Green New Deal. So once again, that gives rise to the idea that these are rote answers. And Tim Walz didn't answer another question. Again, why was he there? Why was he sitting there? He had nothing to do with the conversation. Did not answer the identity question. This is interesting to me. The left has, I wish I could say this another way. The left has race baited for years, if not decades, when it comes to black identity in the United States. Kamala Harris just sort of looked at her and said, same old playbook. Why wouldn't she have said, I am a black woman living in the United States? She did so when she debated on the Democrat primary debate. She talked about being a little girl who was bused to various places in the Bay Area. That little girl was me. Well, okay. Then why wouldn't she bring that back up? Why wouldn't she claim her African American heritage? She didn't want to open that can of worms because that was something that would get immediate comment. So in other words, this conversation was very, very careful not to make waves. It was very careful not to be in a scenario where she would give ammunition to her enemies. But she's also not giving voters a reason to vote for her in this interview. In other words, Dana Bash handled her with kid gloves. Kamala Harris handled the answers with kid gloves. In other words, they just didn't really get into the meat of anything. That's what I talked about before the first segment or after the first segment. There's not enough meat on these bones. There's not enough details. They're not enough details. This is in generalities. This is a generality interview without any kind of incisive questioning about what these things mean. You know, we were talking a little bit about the $25,000 for the first home buyer. Well, okay, where is she going to get that money to fund it? Where's she going to do it? What's going to happen to the housing industry? If she talks about $25,000 for a first-time buyer, everybody said, well, that means that every price is going to go up $25,000. That's not true. Remember that a down payment is a percentage of the asking price. So in order to get the $25,000, the asking price would go up even further than $25,000. That wasn't mentioned. So she didn't answer the identity question. I find that significant. And then they talked a little bit about the two-state solution. The Palestinians don't want a two-state solution. How are you going to get the Palestinians to play ball? They're just not going to do it. Why? Because they believe that their cause is better suited by not having their own country. What does that mean? Well, that means that their stated purpose is not to have their own nation. Their stated purpose is to kill Jews. How are you going to stop that? If you're the president, Mrs. Harris, how are you going to do that? And then she did not bring up a clear plan to get American hostages. She talked to the family of American hostages, and then she said, we have to get the hostages out. She's talking about all the hostages. What about American hostages? On this broadcast, I put up a plan to get American hostages. There are 4,000 Marines floating around in the Mediterranean right this very moment with nothing to do. Send them to Gaza to get the American hostages and anybody that might be sitting in the room with them, if indeed they're still alive. And she didn't address what she'd be doing if those hostages weren't alive. This is the Wells Report. Back in a moment.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. As it turns out, Tim Walz did get asked some questions. We've got that part of the interview coming up in just a couple of moments here on the Wells Report. While we have that ready, I want to point out something else. In that particular part of the interview, which you're going to see at the beginning of next hour, he talks about his military embellishments. And there has been much made of the fact that he was a first sergeant that was put in a sergeant major position in his National Guard unit. I happen to be in the exact same situation with the Texas State Guard. I am a first sergeant, that's an E8, and I've been placed into a command sergeant major billet, which is E9. I have to wait for my next promotion to be a sergeant major. Then there's a lateral, it's not a promotion, but it's sort of like that, where you are taken from being a sergeant major to a command sergeant major, which is sort of like being a master sergeant and then turned to being a first sergeant. There's been a lot made of this. So he did not retire as a command sergeant major in the United States Army National Guard. He did not. And that is fakery. And by the way, when I bring up the Texas State Guard, nothing I say about my service in the Texas State Guard should be construed as any official policy from the State Guard or the Texas Military Department or anything like that. I say that every time for a very important reason. I am a citizen soldier. That doesn't mean that the service that I serve in, which is the Texas State Guard, they don't tell me what to say, and I make sure that you know what I say about military circumstances doesn't have anything to do with the State Guard and doesn't have anything to do with the Texas Military Department, which is the overarching agency that the National Guard, the Texas National Guard, the Texas Air National Guard, and the Texas State Guard are a part of. Okay, so this is just me. Well, as it turns out, that fakery seems to be, I don't know, when you consider the actual overall number of Democrat politicians, it seems to be at epidemic levels. As it turns out, Maryland Governor Wes Moore admits to falsely claiming the award of the Bronze Star. Maryland Governor Wes Moore falsely claimed to have received the Bronze Star earlier in his political career, according to reports. The specter of stolen valor hovered over the Democrat governor since his campaign for the office in 2022, when two television interviewers introduced the politicians as a Bronze Star recipient. Moore did not correct either interviewer, but his staff has been adamant he never claimed to have gotten the award. A Freedom of Information Act request filed by the New York Times revealed Moore did, in fact, assert that he had received the Bronze Star on an application for the White House Fellowship in January of 2006. For my work, the 82nd Airborne Division has awarded me the Bronze Star Medal and Combat Action Badge. Moore later received the Combat Action Badge in May of that year, but was not a recipient when he wrote the application. He was never awarded the Bronze Star. I serve with a lot of people that have a Combat Action Badge. That means they have been under fire. People trying to kill them. And to say that before you were awarded that you had been awarded that, that's jumping the gun. And going after saying, hey, I got a Bronze Star, that's just plain stolen valor. That's just plain stolen valor. So he did receive his Combat Action Badge, which means he was under fire, but he wasn't a recipient when he claimed it, and he was never awarded the Bronze Star. Moore discussed the false claim in an interview with the New York Times, telling the newspaper it had been an honest mistake made because his commanding officer had told him to include the award on his application. Michael Fenzel, a current lieutenant general, was a lieutenant colonel in Afghanistan when he instructed Moore to include the award on his fellowship application. Fenzel believes that Moore had earned the Bronze Star and was initiating the approval process, expecting it would be awarded before the fellowship began. However, the Bronze Star never materialized. Quote, I made an honest mistake by including something because my commanding officer thought it was a good idea. He thought I earned it and that he was already going through the paperwork to process it. You don't have a Bronze Star or any medal of any kind, and I have several, by the way, including one I'm very, very proud of, the Texas Homeland Defense Medal. But you don't claim it until you have the orders for it. You don't wear it until you have the orders for it. And you keep those orders because that's how you prove you actually awarded the medal. As a matter of fact, I was also awarded a Texas Meritorious Service Ribbon, which is another big award in the Texas State Guard, but I can't find the orders. They're in there somewhere. They're in my record somewhere. But I haven't been able to find the orders. I don't wear it. I don't wear it. I don't claim it. I know it happened. There were a lot of people watching me when I got it, but I can't find the orders. So it's not on my uniform. And it won't be on my uniform until I find those orders. And everyone in the military at any level knows that. Look, make of it what you will. But what I'm seeing is I'm seeing smoke and mirrors. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm wondering if you're seeing the same thing. 817-379-2172. Is there reality in the Democrat Party anywhere? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Part 3 of last night's interview on CNN will be coming up. And yes, Tim Walz does answer questions. And we'll have some of those answers coming up in just a couple of moments here on the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship.
Call 877-655-6870. That's 877-655-6870. 877-655-6870.
If you're living with diabetes and using insulin, you know the pain of pricking your fingers over and over again. By wearing a small device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can reduce the pain of pricking your fingers right away. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline today and learn about the latest CGM technology. Not only can a CGM immediately reduce pain, it's accurate, easy to use, and helps you make better diabetes treatment decisions. And if you have Medicare or private insurance, you can see if you qualify for a CGM at little or no out-of-pocket cost. We'll also provide free shipping of your new CGM, and we'll bill your insurance company for you. If you use insulin daily, you might be eligible to get your own continuous glucose monitor. So call the US Med Diabetic Health Hotline to see if you qualify for a CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
North to south, coast to coast, around the world. This is the Wells Report. Greetings, I'm John David Wells. On this broadcast, we report the news honestly and fairly. We analyze the news for fact and bias. We point out both. We do make commentary. Commentary is not news. That's why we do it over here. Commentary is opinion. Your opinion, my opinion, equally valuable. Let's compare those opinions. Let's talk them over. Let's find out what the facts are so we can take those facts into a voting booth in 67 days. Let's do that. What do you think? News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. There is a part 3 of the interview, and that's when Tim Walz finally gets to answer some questions. Let's bring that to you as we continue here on the Wells Report. This is Dana Bash on a CNN exclusive with Tim Walz. Check it out.
Governor Walz, the country is just starting to get to know you. I want to ask you a question about how you've described your service in the National Guard. You said that you carried weapons in war, but you have never deployed actually in a war zone. A campaign official said that you misspoke. Did you?
Well, first of all, I'm incredibly proud. I've done 24 years of wearing the uniform of this country. Equally proud of my service in a public school classroom, whether it's Congress or the governor. My record speaks for itself, but I think people are coming to get to know me. I speak like they do. I speak candidly. I wear my emotions on my sleeves, and I speak especially passionately about our children being shot in schools and around guns. So I think people know me. They know who I am. They know where my heart is. And again, my record has been out there for over 40 years to speak for itself.
And the idea that you said that you were in war.
Yeah.
Did you misspeak as the campaign has said?
Yeah, I said we were talking about, in this case, this was after a school shooting, the ideas of carrying these weapons of war. And my wife, the English teacher, told me my grammar is not always correct. But again, if it's not this, it's an attack on my children for showing love for me, or it's an attack on my dog. I'm not going to do that. And the one thing I'll never do is I'll never demean another member's service in any way. I never have. And I never will.
I just one other question, because again, this is all new.
Yeah.
I mean, this was not however many days ago. This was not on either of your bingo cards, especially yours. You had to clarify that you had said that you and your wife used IVF, but it turned out you used a different kind of fertility in order to have children. And then when you ran for Congress in 2006, your campaign repeatedly made false statements about a 1995 arrest for drunk and reckless driving. What do you say to voters who aren't sure whether they can take you at your word?
Well, I've been very public. I think they can see my students come out, former folks I've served with, and they vouch for me. I certainly own my mistakes when I make them. The one thing I'll tell you is I wished in this country wouldn't have to do this. I spoke about our infertility issues because it's hell, and families know this. And I spoke about the treatments that were available to us that had those beautiful children there. That's quite a contrast in folks that are trying to take those rights away from us. And so I think people know who I am. They know that record. They've seen that. I've taught thousands of students. I've been out there, and I won't apologize for speaking passionately, whether it's guns in schools or protecting of reproductive rights. The contrast could not be clearer between what we're running against. The vice president's position on this has been clear. And I think most Americans get it if you've been through that. I don't think they're cutting hairs on IVF or IUI. I think what they're cutting hairs on is an abortion ban and the ability to be able to deny families the chance to have a beautiful child.
Most people have no clue that in 2023, the best way to make money on Amazon is not with physical products. It's Amazon's other company, Audible. Audible pays me $8,000 to $10,000 every single month in passive income, and I'm not the only one. People like Katrina and Carla, Elena, Renee.
Okay, so this is a 2-minute commercial, or a 2-minute commercial set. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about what we've just heard. So he evaded an answer about whether or not he misspoke regarding him carrying weapons of war. What he did was he immediately tied it to school shootings. And he was talking about weapons of war. No, he said he had carried weapons in war. And the weapons that he carried in war had no business on the American street. Okay, well, first of all, there are no weapons of war being carried in America because it's illegal. You can't have an M16. You can have an AR-15, which looks like an M16. But if you get inside one, and I have been there, it's a completely different rifle. Certainly what the ATF considers to be a rifle. Okay, when you look at an AR-15, the actual bottom part of it, that is the rifle, according to the law. It is a completely different setup inside it. It may look like an M16, but it's not. And nobody actually points that out. The top part, which fits on top of the lower receiver, that is nothing more than a barrel. That's not considered a rifle. You can buy one of those on the street, don't have to wait any length of time, etc. All you got to do is you can do it even through the mail order. But you don't have the actual rifle, which is the lower receiver that contains the trigger and the firing mechanism. It's a completely different rifle. I hope you understand that. So let's get back to this interview. This is Tim Walz talking a little bit, and we also are going to talk about IVF. Here's more of the interview right now. I think. Nope, not exactly. Okay, so let me do this. Let me see if I can fast forward this. No. Okay, hang on. Here we go. Let's try now.
Harris, you were a very staunch defender of President Biden's capacity to serve another 4 years. Right after the debate, you insisted that President Biden is extraordinarily strong. Given where we are now, do you have any regrets about what you told the American people?
No, not at all. Not at all. I have served with President Biden for almost 4 years now, and I'll tell you, it's one of the greatest honors of my career, truly. He cares so deeply about the American people. He is so smart and loyal to the American people. And I have spent hours upon hours with him, be it in the Oval Office or the Situation Room. He has the intelligence, the commitment, and the judgment and disposition that I think the American people rightly deserve in their president. By contrast, the former president has none of that. And so, one, I am so proud to have served as vice president to Joe Biden. And two, I am so proud to be running with Tim Walz for president of the United States and to bring America what I believe the American people deserve, which is a new way forward, and turn the page on the last decade of what I believe has been contrary to where the spirit of our country really lies.
But the last decade, of course, the last 3.5 years has been part of your administration.
I'm talking about an era that started about a decade ago, where there is some suggestion, warped, I believe it to be, that the measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you beat down, instead of where I believe most Americans are, which is to believe that the true measure of the strength of a leader is based on who you lift up. That's what's at stake as much as any other detail that we could discuss in this election.
Because we haven't had a chance to talk, I'm just curious, staying on President Biden, when he called you and said he was pulling out of the race, what was that like? And did he offer to endorse you right away, or did you ask for it?
It was a Sunday, so here I'll give you a little too much information.
Go for it. There's no such thing, Madam Vice President.
My family was staying with us, and including my baby nieces, and we had just had pancakes and, Auntie, can I have more bacon? Yes, I'll make you more bacon. And then we were sitting down to do a puzzle. And the phone rang, and it was Joe Biden. And he told me what he had decided to do. And I asked him, "Are you sure?" And he said yes. And that's how I learned about it.
And what about the endorsement? Did you ask for it?
He was very clear that he was going to support me.
So when he called to tell you, he said, "I'm pulling out of the race and I'm going to support you."
Well, my first thought was not about me, to be honest with you. My first thought was about him, to be honest. I think history is going to show a number of things about Joe Biden's presidency. I think history is going to show that in so many ways it was transformative, be it on what we have accomplished around finally investing in America's infrastructure, investing in new economies, in new industries, what we have done to bring our allies back together and have confidence in who we are as America and grow that alliance, what we have done to stand true to our principles, including the one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I think history is going to show not only has Joe Biden led an administration that has achieved those extraordinary successes, but the character of the man is one that he has been in his life and career, including as a president, quite selfless and puts the American people first.
I just have to ask you both about two standout moments, aside, of course, from the addresses that you both gave, but standout moments that were perhaps unexpected during the convention. You mentioned one of them, Governor. A moment that you shared, that the world shared with your son, Gus. You were speaking, the camera caught him, so incredibly proud of you, so emotional, saying, "That's my dad."
Yeah, I don't know as a father I could have ever imagined that. I'm grateful for so many reasons to be on this ticket, but that moment, to understand what was really important, to have my son feel a sense of pride in me, that I was trying to do the right thing. And it was, you try and protect your kids, it brings notoriety and things, but it was just such a visceral, emotional moment that I'm grateful I got to experience it, and I'm so proud of him. I'm proud of him. I'm proud of Hope. I'm proud of Gwen. She's a wonderful mother, and these are great kids. And I think the one thing is, talking about the era we're in, is our politics can be better. It can be different. We can show some of these things, and we can have families involved in this. And I hope that I hope people felt that out there, and I hope they hug their kids a little tighter, because you just never know, and life can be kind of hard.
And last question, Madam Vice President, the photograph that has gone viral. You were speaking, one of your grandnieces that you were just talking about was watching you accept the nomination. You didn't explicitly talk about gender or race in your speech, but it obviously means a lot to a lot of people, and that viral picture really says it. What does it mean to you?
I am running because I believe that I am the best person to do this job at this moment, for all Americans, regardless of race and gender. But I did see that photograph and I was deeply touched by it. And you're right, it's the back of her head, her two little braids, and then I'm in the front of the photograph, obviously speaking. And it's very humbling. It's very humbling in many ways.
Did she talk to you about it afterwards?
Oh, she had a lot to talk about. She had a lot. She listened to everything, and she listens to everything.
Give you your hot takes?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Madam Vice President, Governor Walz, thank you so much for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank
for
you.
having
Thank you,
us.
Dana. Thank you.
This is the Wells Report. We'll be back with more in just a moment.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare.
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. Our telephone number 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Thanks very much for joining us. We are going through this situation here, and we're talking a little bit about just exactly what we saw. And to be perfectly honest with you, there were a lot of problems with this interview from a standpoint of what it was. And somebody asked a question. I'm having trouble, JD. What's the difference between an interview and a political commercial? This looked an awful lot like an infomercial for the Harris-Walz ticket. And that's a good point. But let's get back to some of the other things in this particular question, this particular circumstance here. Let's talk a little bit about what we have when we start talking about hang on a second, I'm fixing something. Hold on just a minute. Let me do this real fast. Let me see if I can get this done. I had a little technical issue here that I want to fix, and I'm gonna fix it. Let's see. So let's see. Yeah, let's go right there, make next, and then let's go over here and put that to there. There we go. Okay. So he's asked about IVF, in vitro fertilization, and claimed that he had been struggling with in vitro fertilization, which is an incredibly expensive procedure that is very difficult and not always guaranteed for success. As a matter of fact, it's not guaranteed for success, as opposed to IUI, intrauterine injection, which is much more reliable and is also called artificial insemination. And those are two completely different kettles of fish. So when you start talking about this, well, people confuse them all the time. No, people don't confuse them all the time. The procedures are starkly different. So would this be a lie if Donald Trump had said it? The answer would be yes. Regarding Biden, Kamala Harris did not ever address his mental state, except to say that he was, into it, his intellect is this, is that, and so on and so on. But we now know that Joe Biden was having serious trouble. And during the entire time he was having serious mental trouble, Kamala Harris was saying he wasn't having serious mental trouble. Is that a lie? Yes or no? You tell me. I'm not answering the question. And then she said something about, we need to have a different way of doing things. It's not who you beat down, it's who you lift up. Okay, what is she talking about? She talking about Donald Trump beating her down? Has anybody beaten down Donald Trump? Anybody? Including CNN? The answer is yeah. Yeah, forever. And still, well over 80% of the coverage on President Trump is negative. And well over 80% of the coverage of Kamala Harris is positive. And in most polling, they're even. Is there an issue there? Will this interview actually make things easier or better or more accurate? I don't think so. Let's see what else. When she got the word that President Biden was stepping down, and she talked about this wonderful thing about eating breakfast with her nieces and about to play a game and all that kind of stuff, and that doesn't have anything to do with national issues. But then she said something about how she's standing for sovereignty and territorial integrity. With the border, with the Biden border, with the Biden-Harris border, she's talking about sovereignty and territorial integrity. Really? And then Walz talks about his son Gus, which was a beautiful, beautiful situation. And the picture of the niece of Kamala Harris, that was a beautiful, beautiful picture, and so on and so forth. But how do those wonderful moments, and they were, how do those wonderful moments translate into lower inflation? They don't. This is the Wells Report.
Attention timeshare owners. This is an urgent consumer alert from the Timeshare Exit Hotline, a national company specializing in helping consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Greece is cheap.
But the airfare costs a fortune.
Paris?
Not much closer, and again, airfare...
What about Puerto Vallarta?
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Nobody wants to get ripped off, broken into, or robbed, but nobody wants to pay a lot of money to have their home protected either. I've got an offer to tell you about to provide home security for your home for less than $1 a day. For real, with no installation or equipment charges. And this is from a company rated #1 by a leading consumer research company. According to the facts, most of you won't even call unless there's a burglary in your neighborhood or something bad happened. So let's give you a reason. Save money. For less than $1 a day with no other costs, you can get your home secured. Plus, get a lifetime equipment replacement warranty. You need protection for your home. Call the Home Security Hotline right now.
Get your home secured for less than $1 a day, and every caller today immediately qualifies for free installation. Call now.
Call 877-275-0973. 877-275-0973. That's 877-275-0973.
News, analysis, commentary, and debate. This is the Wells Report. I am John David Wells. Thanks for joining us. We just saw the Kamala Harris, Tim Walz interview in its entirety. What do you think about it? 817-379-2172. 817-379-2172. Now, before we go into that, I want to bring something up that's on the chat room. Mugwump, who is he is of a different part of the political spectrum than I am. He was reacting to the 4,000 Marines that are waiting for something to do with regards to the Israeli-Hamas situation, which was not really talked about that much in the interview. And I said, what is Kamala Harris going to do about those American hostages? And I suggested, as I have before, that those Marines should have something to do. And I've said many times that the way that would work is you contact Hamas, you contact the Israelis, and you do get a ceasefire. And the Marines land. And anything that engages the Marines in a deadly fashion would be vaporized with all kinds of American air power, hovering over the Gaza Strip, waiting for something to do as well. That's what I've said. But he does ask a great question. How many Marines will die by sending them into Gaza? Here's how I answered it. Thanks for the question, Mug. Perhaps there will be Marines who lose their lives. But who would be killing them? Further, Desert One was a mission to rescue the Iranian hostages during the Carter administration. It failed, and a lot of people lost their lives. It was a daring mission to rescue those Iranian hostages during the Carter administration. No one on that mission turned it down. I have talked to them personally on several occasions. I doubt the Marines would shrink from the duty to go and rescue those Americans if they were called upon. Would some lose their lives? Perhaps. I don't know. But those American hostages are being held by an Iranian-backed terror group. Something tells me those Marines want to land and go get them. So that's where I stand on that. Okay? Now, the next thing that I'm going to talk about is what people are saying about the interview. All right? This is me sharing opinions from other people. Bret Stephens, specifically of the New York Times. Hardly a right-wing newspaper. New York Times columnist Bret Stephens published a scathing piece today calling Vice President Kamala Harris's first sit-down interview as a 2024 candidate vague and vacuous. Stephens is a conservative columnist who's vehemently opposed to the former president, Donald Trump. He laid into Harris's performance, saying she offered little details about the policies she would enact as president, avoided straight answers, relied on flimsy talking points, all while CNN anchor Dana Bash seemed reluctant to ask tough questions. I agree completely. This is a never-Trumper talking here. But there was too much fluff in this interview to lay to rest the doubts about Harris's readiness for the highest office in the land, said Stephens. Harris and Bash won some praise in liberal corners for the interview, such as Poynter and a New York Times write-up. But conservatives, unsurprisingly, were harsher on the vice president and CNN, saying it was light on details regarding Harris's policy proposals. Indeed, this article is from Fox News. It's biased. So keep this all in mind. Stephens did begin his column with the positive aspects of the Harris interview, stating she came across as warm, relatable, to recall Barack Obama's famous 2008 exchange with Hillary Clinton, more than likable enough. He also praised her for refusing to be baited into the identity politics trap. It is a trap, and she did evade that answer, emphasizing she was running for the presidency for all Americans, regardless of race and gender, and for distinguishing herself from former President Trump as someone who looks to lift people up as opposed to beating them down. Well, that changes the context. So Donald Trump beats down the American people? Really? Okay. Then the negatives. She was vague to the point of vacuousness. She struggled to give straight answers to her shifting positions on fracking and border security, other than to say, my values have not changed. He then, this is Collins, once again, this is Brett Stevens speaking in the New York Times. He added, she evaded the question of why it took the Biden administration more than 3 years to gain better control of the border. And in that interview, she also talked about sovereignty and territorial integrity. That was a mistake. That was an error. Which ultimately, her answer regarding the border, it ultimately did okay, let me start over. She evaded the question of why it took the Biden administration more than 3 years to gain better control of the border, which it ultimately did through an executive order that could have been placed years earlier. Noted that the interviewer didn't clear up why she reversed her former policy decisions. Dana Bash did not follow up. And that was awful. Even CNN fact checker Daniel Dale called out Harris after she claimed during the interview that she made clear on the debate stage that I would not ban fracking. The fact check bottom line, she did not actually make clear at a 2020 debate that she had changed her previous support for a fracking ban, citing transcripts from her debate and then with then Vice President Mike Pence that showed she promised President Biden would not ban fracking. Stevens continued, slamming Harris for her talking points, particularly her bit about policy proposals to prevent so-called price gouging. Harris relied on a few talking points that may not serve her well in the next 2 months. She mentioned price gouging, but Americans probably won't believe that grocery bills with razor-thin or grocery chains with razor-thin profit margins are the real culprits when it comes to rising food bills. He added her $100 billion plan to give first-time home buyers $25,000 in down payment support would mainly be an incentive for ever higher home prices. Even Trump might be smart enough to explain just how inflationary the gimmick would be. Stevens also turned to running mate Minnesota Governor Tim Walz's presence during an interview, a bigger weakness for Harris, writing, though he delivered a fine speech at the Democrat National Convention, brightly enhanced by his cheering son Gus, which was a beautiful moment, he was transparently evasive in answering questions from Dana Bash about his misstatement of his military service, false claims about a DUI arrest, and misleading statements about his family's fertility treatments. It's not just me. Now, that's a biased article. CNN looked at it this way. Kamala Harris showed how, and this is news, by the way, this is not opinion, so I'll go over here. Kamala Harris showed how she plans to deal with Donald Trump and win the presidency in CNN's first exclusive interview with the vice president since becoming the Democrat nominee. She went into the interview yesterday under enormous scrutiny, with Trump and his allies accusing her of dodging the press, and predicted she'd fizzle under pressure, be undermined by her own policy switches, and burst the bubble of joy around the campaign. The vice president preferred sweeping themes and aspirations rather than detailed policy blueprints and declined to fully explain reversals on issues like immigration and energy. But she was a more deft, disciplined, and prepared political figure than she appeared in her short-lived bid for the 2020 Democrat nomination or in accident-prone moments early in her tenure as vice president. Harris smoothly countered questions and follow-ups about her vulnerabilities by pivoting to safer talking points, as she failed to do in a damaging interview with NBC in 2021. Harris also steered clear of any obvious errors that would knock her campaign off track and would require her to perform damage control in the vital build-up to her debate showdown with former President Donald Trump on September 10th. After a week after her keynote speech at the Democrat convention expanded her core argument that it was time to turn the page from Trump's divisiveness. She also refused to be drawn into a Republican rival provocation about her racial identity. So CNN sees the holes in the interview. And then there's this, also from Fox News, therefore incredibly biased, so I'll go over here. A body language expert who analyzed President Kamala Harris's first interview with the media since becoming Democrat presidential nominee told Fox News that she believed Harris was not confident in what she was saying and lacked a presidential demeanor. When I look at her overall demeanor, she does not carry the confidence or presidential appearance in her demeanor to command her position, said body language expert Susan Constantine. So for everything I saw last night, she definitely needs to make some tweaks to her body language and appear more confident. Also, I don't know why Tim Walz was on the left side of the screen. She was sitting to Kamala Harris's right. And Kamala Harris was much shorter than he was. That's a mistake. A picture is worth 1,000 words. She looked diminutive next to her vice president. Kamala Harris should have been on the left. Tim Walz should have been on the right. And Tim Walz should have been slightly lower than Kamala Harris. That was just a basic television production mistake. Now, why that happened, I don't know. I don't have any idea. But all I can say is this, is that did this help her? No, it didn't. Is it damaging? No, because the entire objective, both on Dana Bash's part and Kamala Harris's part and Tim Walz's part, was to avoid damaging themselves. Therefore, it was not a meaningful interview. Now, that's not me saying it wasn't a meaningful interview. You've got enough talking heads saying that stuff. Here's what I think. Kamala Harris needs to face the fire. And she needs to start doing it right now. If she wants to win, she's going to have to provide better answers. Will she be forced to do so during the ABC News debate? I don't think so. But Donald Trump might be able to push some of that stuff forward. I don't know. But she needs to start taking hard questions from real reporters that will follow up with tougher questions than the original one. Not because I want to see her fail, but because she needs to practice and she needs to have better answers. Tim Walz skated through that interview. Dana Bash didn't even follow up on any of those things. He was very, very slick in his ability to say the fact that I carried weapons of war, which he did not do, was based on school shootings in the United States. Excuse me? I'm sorry. What are you talking about? And then he said, I've got a record it's out there. Everybody knows it. Yeah, everybody knows it. And they want to ask you about it. And you're not answering. He too needs to face the fire. He needs to be in a room with a serious journalist looking for facts. Catherine Herridge, anybody? Does anybody know where Catherine Herridge is? I do. She's sitting out a non-compete with CBS News. That's where she agrees not to appear on any other network for a particular period of time. But Catherine Herridge would be perfect for this because she's a real journalist. I would suggest that she be brought in to handle that particular thing. I wish she would. But like I said, there are legalities and reasons why she can't. But somebody's out there that could ask real questions. We'll also find out something during the ABC debate that we don't know. And that is the reality of a guy who looks great as the anchor of the ABC World News Tonight. And that guy, hang on a second, I want to get his name here. I don't want to screw this up. ABC World News Tonight. His first name is David. Hang on a second here. I'm sorry. I blank on names for some reason. David Muir. David Muir comes across as the anchor of ABC's World News Tonight for at least as good as anybody's that sat in that chair. We're going to find out if he's a real journalist during this debate. And we're going to find out just exactly what ABC News is trying to get done in this in this contest that they're covering every day. And that is something that you need to be ready for and you need to watch for. If indeed ABC handles that debate like Dana Bash handled this interview, then ABC News credibility goes down the dumper and never recovers. Ever. It never will. Now, I like David Muir a lot. I certainly hope that he, as the managing editor and anchor of World News Tonight, steps into that role and asks these tough questions and follows up with them. That's why I want Kamala Harris to start taking real interviews. I want her to start doing real press conferences with real journalists out asking questions. No prearranged list of journalists, no prearranged questions. She needs to do that to get better. I will tell you this. If she starts doing it, she's going to make mistakes, big ones, and people are going to make a lot of them. But it's not the first one that I'd pay that much attention to. I'll report it, of course. But it's the second, third, fourth, and fifth one. And she needs to start having those questions and those conversations right this minute if she wants to win the presidency. If she keeps doing this, prevent defense, she's going to lose. And she's going to lose big. When you got the New York Times, one of their serious columnists, who's a never-Trumper, saying she's vacuous and vague, that's probably the most damning information that I've heard so far. And so what I want to know from you is what you think. Give us a call, 817-379-2172. We'll be back with more in a moment.
Let's face it, flying anywhere is just too expensive.
Wait, what's this? Low-cost airlines.
With one call to low-cost airlines, you'll drastically slash your travel costs. We're talking insanely low airline prices to any of your favorite destinations. Where would you like to go? London, Rome, Costa Rica, Australia?
Wow, that's cheap.
So why wait? Call now to learn how crazy cheap it is to fly anywhere in the U.S. or international. Our prices are so low, we can't publish them. The only way to get them is to call to instantly hear the most amazing best deals on airline travel. It's that easy. So call now and start packing.
Call 877-512-3895. That's 877-512-3895. 877-512-3895.
Consumers legally get out of their expensive timeshare contracts. We're offering you a way to legally get rid of your timeshare. So if you're fed up with the maintenance fees that keep on coming and want to learn if you can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, call today. Even if you've tried before and were unsuccessful in getting rid of your timeshare, call today and see if we can help. We offer a complete 100% unconditional client satisfaction guarantee. Make this completely free call and learn how we can help you legally put an end to your timeshare nightmare once and for all. You have nothing to lose, so call right now to qualify and receive a free consultation. You can terminate your timeshare legally and permanently, but you've got to call now. Call the number on your screen today. It's a free call.
This is the Wells Report. My name is John David Wells. I haven't mentioned Fishing Shirt Friday once, but I'm wearing my fishing shirt. And you should be wearing yours too. It's cooling off here in Texas. My goodness, it got all the way down to 91 today. Anyway, so I ask you for what you thought of the interview. You saw it on this broadcast. You saw it last night on CNN, and it was exclusive, and it was good, and I'm glad that Kamala Harris is talking. She needs to talk more. In that mug agrees. In the coming weeks, Harris needs to lay out more of her policy positions. However, Trump has also failed to elaborate on his policy positions, rather engaging in making sexist comment about his political rival. No, That's not true. This is DonaldJTrump.com. Number 1, seal the border and stop the migrant invasion. 2, carry out the largest deportation operation in American history. 3, end inflation, make America affordable again. Make America the dominant energy producer in the world by far. Stop outsourcing and turn the United States into a manufacturing superpower. Large tax cuts for workers and no tax on tips. Defend our Constitution, our Bill of Rights, and our fundamental freedoms, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to keep and bear arms. Prevent World War III, restore peace in Europe and the Middle East, build a great Iron Dome defense missile shield over our entire country, all made in America. End the weaponization of the government against the American people. Stop the migrant crime epidemic, demolish foreign drug cartels, crush gang violence, and lock up violent offenders. Rebuild our cities, including Washington, D.C., making them safe, clean, and beautiful again. It seems pretty specific to me, and it goes on and on and on. His policy positions are clear. Where's that list of Kamala Harris's positions? Where is that? I haven't seen it. And I'm looking for it. Because just like I did with this, when she puts one of those things down there and gets as specific as Donald Trump did, and yeah, there's some holes in it. He's not completely in a position where he fleshes out all of this, like he says, for example, end inflation, make America affordable again. Well, he said that the way you do that is you drive the price of energy down, but it's not here. So what I want to point out is that I'm not being partisan. I am waiting for information. I am hoping that Kamala Harris provides it. I've even suggested what she ought to do. Stop running away from the things that you said when you were running for president the first time. Stand up for them like you own them. You said that, Ms. Harris, you said that your values hadn't changed, but your policies had. Okay, so your values are back in 2019, but your policies are catered to do what? Win this election? What happens if you win it? Are you going to go back to what you truly believe? Is that what you're going to do? Or are you going to work your entire presidency against your own values? That's the question. Let's see. And Mugg is still talking about sexual favors, et cetera, and he blames it all on Donald Trump. Lots of people have said things about Kamala Harris regarding her past, except me. And you know what I've said about Kamala Harris's sexual past? Do you remember? Nothing. What happens behind closed doors between consenting adults is none of our business. None. I don't care who Kamala Harris dated. I couldn't care less. I don't care who Donald Trump dated. I couldn't care less. But if you are going to throw Donald Trump under the sexual bus, then Kamala Harris needs to expect to be thrown under the sexual bus. It's fairness, if there is such a thing in American politics. It's fair. And so let's see how he's not explaining that. No, it's not a wish list. There is no migrant crime epidemic. Okay, well, let me read this for you in case you're wondering. Members of law enforcement are furious with Democrat Colorado Governor Jared Polis calling migrant gang violence in an Aurora apartment complex misinformation. Okay, this brand new gang that's doing business in American cities is taking over. They're taking over apartment complexes. They're just taking them over at the point of a gun. That's gang violence. MS-13, responsible for the fentanyl trade in the United States. That is a criminal organization. It is a terror organization. And they slaughter people for fun. So I'm sorry, there is a migrant crime epidemic. When you consider the number of people that are here, and the best figure I can get is 8 million plus, and then you start thinking about all the people who have died in the United States because of fentanyl, 250,000 and more. Also the people that have just been murdered, run over by drunken illegal immigrants. Yeah, there's a migrant crime epidemic. You're just not paying attention, or you're overlooking it for the fact of voting for Kamala Harris. Mug, vote for Kamala Harris. You know, for crying out loud, vote your conscience. I've said this to other Kamala Harris supporters, and I mean it. Vote your conscience. But don't sit there and try to justify your vote by misstating facts that I read every day and tell you about every day. See, what I'm trying to get you to do is not change your mind. I'm trying to get you to base your decision on facts. And that's what this broadcast is all about. There is one last thing that I want to announce on this broadcast. And that's this. Aldi's has brought back Chipotle chicken salad. It's delicious. Oh my God. It's so good. You should get some. No, I'm not getting paid by Aldi's to say it. Dang it. But that chicken salad, Chipotle chicken salad, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You got to get some. All right, so that's another week of work, and I sincerely appreciate you supporting me during that week of work. God bless you and yours. Be safe this weekend. It's the long holiday weekend. This broadcast will not be broadcast on Monday. Nope. Okay, but on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, it will be back at this time frame. We'll be back on between 5 and 7 p.m., okay? So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm not sure about Friday yet. It may be back at its normal time, and I'm sorry about skipping around, but life happens, okay? Have a great Labor Day weekend. Know that you are loved by me, and I sincerely appreciate all of your support on this broadcast. Until Tuesday, God bless you and yours. Be safe. Make good decisions. Bye-bye.